So I thought it might be interesting to do a road trip video, as some of the stops that I wanted to see here in South Dakota were 1 to 2 hours from each other, and I just didn't think it made sense to separate them into individual videos. So I'm going to take you on a little road trip and show you some of the sights here in South Dakota. First stop on my list is this cute little place called the 1880 Town. And as you see, it is just kind of a little village here. And it is just really cute what they have done here. The guy purchased 14 acres in 1969 and didn't really have plans to do anything with it. But over time, this kind of developed into what it is today. And he traveled all over South Dakota, getting buildings and making this as authentic as possible. And so you can actually go into several of these buildings. There's even a saloon that's over here. You can go in and get sarsaparilla or water and actually order and sit there just like a saloon back in the day. And so this is just a really great place to come. And this is really interesting for me just because when I was younger, I just thought all of the history was not in our country. If so, there was just a little bit in New England, but that was really about it. But the more that I kind of opened my eyes, and especially in the West, there's so much to see here, even if it's just 100 or so years old. But it's still better than nothing, and it's so cute to see what people have done to celebrate the Old West here. In addition to this cute little town that they have here, this was also a part of different movies that they had, kind of a part of the area. So one of the most famous is Dances with Wolves with Kevin Costner. And actually in the Welcome Center, you can go and see a lot of pictures and see some of the relics that they had from the film. They also had a movie called Dakota Thunder with Val Kilmer, as well as another one called Born to Buck with Henry Fonda, which is an older movie. But all of those kind of have some of the ties to this area, which is really interesting to see. Most of the buildings around here you can go in. Some of them are a little bit more chained off or fenced off, as they do have very authentic stuff that comes from the 1890s or a little bit older. But other things you can actually walk straight in and feel like you're kind of a part of some of these homes and businesses. And that's just really interesting to see what they've done with this and to make this kind of as realistic as they possibly could. This is a little 1880 town right here. And if you just come a little bit further, you can actually come see this church here, and then also kind of get a little bit of an idea of what life would look like back then. Just wide open areas, which is really interesting, kind of a contrast compared to the cars. I'm not sure if you can see them over there. This is right beside the interstate, and this is just a lot quieter and a lot more far removed from that. Also over here is Otis the camel, who apparently loves popcorn, as well as 2 longhorn cows that are here. And if they're close to the fence, which is right here, then you can actually get a picture with them, which is what I did. They kind of just stared at me like I was a little bit strange, but I'd never seen one before, so that was really cool to see. So this is just a really cute place to stop and stretch your legs, walk around a little, even if you just have 15-20 minutes just to kind of see what they have here and support this cute little piece of history. Good morning. I am now at the Badlands, and I wanted to just show you this view really quick here. And this is right at the beginning of the park. And I haven't been here before, so I'm gonna go check this out. And I'm only gonna do a few stops, but I read up and these were the 3 that I thought would be the most worth seeing before the summer heat kind of kicks in. So this is just right inside the gate where you pay, and this is Big Badlands Overlook. And this is a really fantastic view that they have here. And it's really interesting, as you can kind of see here a little bit, some of the stripes that they have. And they said that at different times of the day, you can kind of see these stripes a little bit more strongly. And so, yeah, this is the first stop, and this is quite the view that I already have. There are many great places to pull off in the Badlands, but they also have places where you can go for trails, such as this here behind me. And so that's kind of nice that if you do want to go for hikes, make sure you have plenty of water and good sturdy shoes, as there's not a lot of shade and the paths can be a little bit uneven. But it's still nice that they have this option that you can go for a hike here in the Badlands. Thought it might be interesting to do a little bit of driving, having this view in the background. But I wanted to just say real quick that the pass getting into the park is $30. And if you're just driving through, that is a bit pricey. but it is a 7-day pass. So if you want to kind of come and go, you definitely can. And if you want to camp or hike, or they even have people that come that are paleontologists and search for fossils, this is all possible. So that is kind of the nice part about that price, is that it isn't just $30 for one time or even one day, but it does allow you 7 days of access. So I just kind of wanted to say that real quick. One other thing I wanted to say was that this is the home to many animals. So as I was driving through a second ago, there was some big longhorn sheep, and that was really cool to see. There was only 2 of them, but there were people kind of pulled off and looking at them, and you can't get too close for obvious reasons. You don't know what they're gonna do, but that was still really fascinating to see. It's really interesting for me how there's kind of peaks and valleys all throughout the park here, and just how this is all natural. And there are some places where it is just complete prairie, and other areas where these big rocks just explode, and it is just really fascinating to see the difference. Also real quick, I wanted to say that if you wanted to see the same 3 spots that I went to Big Badlands Overlook, I went to Panorama Point, and Pinnacles Overlook. Those 3 are really beautiful and really nice to see. There's of course all of the south route that I did not do, but this is at least for the northern aspect. Those were the 3 that I found worth it. You can kind of see those real quick and easy. And as with most touristy things in the summer months, the earlier you can get here or the later you can get here in the day, less crowds, not as hot, and definitely worth doing that. About 2 hours from the Badlands is a very famous thing that most anyone around the world knows, and that is Mount Rushmore that's there behind me. It's actually free to see the memorial, but it is $10 to park. You can see this from the highway, and some people do just stop and take a picture. There's a little small pull-off area where you can do that. But if you want to get up close and personal, it's worth paying the $10 to come here and park. It's really interesting to see this when you actually get up close and personal, as we have George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Theodore Roosevelt, and Abraham Lincoln up here, in case you did not know the 4 faces of the presidents up here. So I just wanted to show you this a little bit closer up, as it's interesting to see because there's an amphitheater that's down there, and then when you kind of just get a view of how big this area is and what that must have been like to carve those faces up there, it's quite an impressive thing they did. About 30 minutes from Mount Rushmore is an area called Crazy Horse. Not a lot of people know about this just because it isn't as well known. It's a Native American, and it's kind of unfortunate because in my opinion it's a lot better than Mount Rushmore. The story behind it is that Crazy Horse was one of the war chiefs that was very successful in kind of keeping their ground against the white men. And he was respected by both Native Americans as well as the new immigrant white men that was coming in. And so they actually have created this monument that you see behind me. This is it right there. And they are going to be working on this for a very long time. They started this in 1949, and already the face is the largest sculpture in the world. The Mount Rushmore faces that they have are about 60 feet, and this is 87. This is going to be a very long work in progress to get everything, but if you look close enough on the white part of the rock here, you can see the outlining of what they're doing with chipping away and using dynamite to get the shape that they want. So this is going to be a long ongoing project, but it is interesting because of that, as people that have seen this over the last several years always come and see something new. They also have a really fascinating cultural show that's at 11:30, 1:30, and 4:30. It does last about an hour, but within that hour, they actually talk about the Dakota people here. And that is a really great thing. I actually made special time to come to that, and I'm so glad I did. I saw there was just going to be some dancing, but the story that they do with that is so amazing, and really passing on the stories from their people to all of us visitors.
So they thought, snakes, enemies. And in their language, they say, Nedawesu.
And so for that aspect, I like this so much more than Mount Rushmore. The only thing that's a little bit controversial about Crazy Horse here is that there is a lot more about the sculptor who worked on this and started this than about Crazy Horse, the Native American. And that's kind of unfortunate as it is a mixed thing, but regardless, you can learn about both. And so this is a really amazing thing, and even tonight there's going to be a show that they're going to do, which I'm really looking forward to. So I'm driving through Custer State Park right now, and this is known for having a lot of wildlife as well as beautiful scenery. And I actually was able to see 2 buffalo. I didn't know if I'd actually get to see anything more than that, as for a while I didn't see anything, and I felt very discouraged. And then I saw one as I was coming up over a ridge, and I thought, no, that's a sign, that's just way too big and it's not moving. And sure enough, it was a buffalo. And then the second one was just walking along the street right beside me, and they just seem completely unfazed by the cars and people that are around. Of course, the state parks do not want you to get out of your car, but regardless, you can see them. And there's also a lot of other animals that are here, such as elk, bighorn sheep, even prairie dogs and other things. So this is really a beautiful place to come and drive around. I know that they do have things on what's called Wildlife Loop Road, and instead of being traffic jams, they call them wildlife jams when there are animals and a lot more people. But I'm driving right now about 7:30, and I've encountered some cars, but definitely not a lot. This is definitely a good time to come out here and check out Custer State Park. All right, that wraps up my time here in South Dakota, and so I hope you enjoyed this little road trip. I definitely have seen a few new things, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.